Hey guys, it's Taylor. I'm back to my normal setup. Yay! So excited to actually be back and be in my own space and actually be able to talk normally so you can hear me. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I'm off today, so I've been kind of relaxing and I've napped already today. So I'm actually going to do my very first Top 5 Wednesday. And I think the theme today is top 5 fantasy or sci-fi books. And I have some books here that I am partial to, I guess, but I feel like a lot of BookTube is going to be talking about these. So I'm not really going to go into a big depth of what they're about because I also don't want to spoil them. So this is going to be a relatively short video and it's just a quick, back into the groove kind of thing because I'm going to try to make these top 5 Wednesday videos every week just so I can get back in the groove of filming because I do miss it. Talking to you guys is a great thing. I thoroughly enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into the top 5 books. The first one is going to be Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I was recommended this by a coworker when I worked at a call center here in town. And I think she was on like the 3rd or 4th book and she was like, you have to read it. It's so good. So I picked it up and I think it took me a week and a half to read. It's a chunker. I mean, the mass market paperbacks are huge. And I think even the regular copies are pretty big. But this is like itty bitty writing. Not including the indexes, these books, well, this book alone, Game of Thrones, 807 pages. So, and it's little writing, and I'm not used to reading like high fantasy adult novels. I'm used to like high fantasy YA novels. I read a lot more YA than I do like adult fantasy and stuff like that. But I'm branching out. Slowly but surely, I am branching out. And this was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. The second book is actually, it's A Discovery of Witches by Diana Harkness. I love this book so much. It's everything I could have wanted in like my first step into like adult urban fantasy, where it's set in modern day London, and it's so good. If you haven't read this, I highly suggest it. It's witches, different tiers of witches, and there's also vampire, but he's not like the normal like sparkly vampire or anything like that. He's an old vampire. Like, he's old. And it is just, it's so good. His take on romance and stuff like that is very old-fashioned, and it's very refreshing for the adult. I'm trying to think of a nice way to put this, but wham bam thank you ma'am vampire stories. But yeah, their romance is amazing. The main character finding herself is amazing, and I can't wait to get into the second book. This first book is easily a top 3 favorite of mine. And the third book is Falling Kingdoms. This is more of the high fantasy YA that I was talking about a few seconds ago. So good. It's multiple POVs, and it's just some of the characters have such a heartbreak, and it's just such a great story. And if you haven't read it, I highly suggest. If you like high fantasy, if you like kind of coming of age stories as well, you'll kind of like this. And I honestly suggest this book to just about anybody who will listen to me talk about books. The fourth book is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. The entire Mortal Instrument series is something that I would also recommend to people because it's one of my favorite series of all time. I can't with this series. With this book especially, it just kind of opened up my eyes to this entire world. And it's an urban fantasy, which I had not really been into or liked until I read this. It was it was really kind of cool to see, like, there's this other world of, like, the Shadowhunter world and mixed in with our I've read 5 of them, so I'm still slowly working my way through it. I just don't want it to end. It's so good. I don't want it to end. But I also really like to talk about this book as well with a bunch of other people. So if you haven't read it, please read it or contact me and I will talk more about it and see if I can convince you to read it. Finally, I know it's definitely not going to be a shock for anybody who knows me or anybody who has gotten to know me in the last, few months. No fantasy or sci-fi would be complete without my mention of Harry Potter. I know that it's something that we're not really supposed to do with these top 5 because it's Harry Potter. Everybody loves Harry Potter. But this was the first book that I actually read. And it's my first dive into fantasy. So I can't have a top 5 favorite fantasy or sci-fi books without Harry Potter. And everybody knows what Harry Potter's about. So I am actually in the process of rereading this series, and I'm really excited because this is the first time I've done it since I was a child. So I'm really hoping that I know for a fact that it will stand up to what I think. And it's just going to be really interesting to see how my grown-up mind digests what my younger mind digested back in the day. So those are my top 5 books for this Top 5 Wednesday. And it was actually really fun. Like, I had a lot of books in my mind, but ultimately it has to be your top 5. And I feel like I have a pretty good, 3 out of 5 of them are young adult. But I'm getting into the adult fantasy sci-fi world. Now, none of these books were sci-fi, and I'm really kind of upset with myself about this. But I'm going to slowly but surely be getting into sci-fi, young adult, and adult. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye!